Hi guys, and welcome to, in a way, quite a sad video, I guess. So I've decided to discontinue the server, and this video is just going to detail exactly my reasons, why I've decided to discontinue it, and, why it's going down, and why it's probably going to stay down at least for a very long time. But there could be a possibility in the future of me having a server again. So anyway, I'm just on one of my newer ships that I've been designing for a while, so I'm just going to wander around here while talking to you guys so that you actually have a visual as well. So a lot of you know that I've had a server for quite a while, a couple months. And well, YouTube, if you've watched Jamsy Boy's newest video, he's been talking about how YouTube isn't as paying as much as it used to, and it really isn't. Last month I was actually down $200, so that's a big chunk. So that's pretty much the entire server cost just gone. So that's not addition, it's just all that money gone. But my server was always going to be a free server. I never want to charge for it, and that's one of the things I actually wanted to stick with, no matter what, really. So it's not really the main reason, but one of the reasons is that just due to finance, YouTube isn't paying as much, and I wouldn't be able to afford it, and I wouldn't be able to afford to expand it, and that's really what it needed. So it was crashing quite a bit, and some of the reasons due to the crashes were the actual host company, which I had a really big fight about, and I'll talk to you guys about that in a bit as well. But another reason was, we had quite a few users. It was actually pretty successful. It was a pretty successful server, a lot more successful than I thought it was going to be. And because of that, you get issues like lag popping up, and that will always happen. But the only ways I could really beat the lag was to buy more, RAM for the server. And in the end, I ended up having about 8 gigs of RAM, and my entire YouTube earnings were going to that, which I was completely fine with. YouTube is just an extra thing for me. It's not really, it's not like other YouTubers which do it for a job. It was just, some extra money that just helped me along. So spending it on a server was absolutely fine. But of course, then with being, $200 down, I was very worried, especially about being able to keep it and keep it up to a standard. And due to lag and things, I knew I would have to actually, expand it at some point. And I just can't afford the actual money to expand it. But that isn't actually the main reason, but that's one of the reasons at least, so you get an idea of that. One of the other reasons that I've actually decided to close it is, when it does crash, I think this is probably, in a way, my fault. When the actual server does crash, and it's not an announced crash, so, if I do announce it, it was on Facebook or Twitter, I'd say I'd taken the server down for 10 minutes for maintenance or something. Those ones were absolutely fine. It was when it crashed without me, knowing about it, or it was because somebody had done something on the server, which is usually the case, and it needed a complete restart. What happens is, I would definitely get negative comments, like really, really negative comments, saying, why isn't your effing server up, for example, and can you fix this now? The problem is I have a full-time job, and, that takes up a good half of my day, so I've got that, and I also need to sleep, surprisingly, and I also need to record videos, so I was getting these kind of comments quite a lot, especially probably the last week and a half. I've been getting a ton. I'm talking like probably around 50, so, 50 to probably 60 in a week. Just these very negative comments, very, just comments. I'm not saying that they're, just because they're actually being negative, it's bad, because I completely believe that, if you have something to say, you should say it. But, I was getting these negative comments, and it was very aimed at me, and that's the main problem. When, you pay for a server with all of the money that you earn from YouTube, and then you start getting comments like, your server is a pile of, and, quite a, I wouldn't say, let's go with colourful, quite colourful words about it. So, it's very, very difficult, because I read all of my comments, 100% of them I will read. I can't respond to all of them anymore, but I do read them. So, these ones, they weren't trolling comments, they weren't, like, go and eat something really horrible, like eat crap or something. It wasn't stuff like that. This was actually genuine comments like, the server's down again, can you fix it? Or, the server's down again, this is just peeing me off, or what? Those kind of ones that are actually, very just comments. They're, accurate of what you guys are actually feeling, so I don't feel bad. I don't think to put these people down that actually did comment things like that, because you're completely entitled to it, you know? But at the same time, you've got to remember, free servers, you're not going to get the kind of support you do from if you actually pay money into a server. So yeah, I was getting a lot of those kind of negative comments just directly aimed at me, and especially the last week when the server's been down for 2 days, I think it was. It was a big downtime. Not my fault. It was actually due to the server host, the guys that I actually pay to host the server. Server actually went down, and I was getting a huge number, and it's really demoralizing when you have these comments that you do care about, and you know that these are, you know, comments which are actually correct. You know, they are correct. You know, the server shouldn't be down, and it should be up, it should be running, it should be doing lag-free and all this kind of stuff. But there's nothing you can do about it. So I actually woke up on Sunday with a load in my Facebook private messages. I had comments on YouTube, which I had to remove because they were quite bad, and then it makes my channel look bad because, you know, it looks like I'm, you know, not around on the server to fix things, or I'm just ignoring it, or, you know, those kind of things. But also getting, you know, private messages, and I seriously woke up to a huge number of basically FU messages. You know, that was what I was basically getting, and it's really difficult, I think, with giving out a free server, because people do expect certain things, you know, and people, instead of, you know, a paying server where you know exactly where you stand, you know, you're giving somebody money, so they will, for example, let's say a plot review. Say if you are actually paying for the server, you would expect a plot review to be probably done within 6 hours, you know, maybe more. But it's very difficult with a free server because you get lots and lots of people joining, and we were getting about 20 to 40 plot reviews a day probably. And I was trying to record, but I was trying to work as well, so I was at work most of the day. And obviously that takes up a huge chunk, probably about 10 hours of my day is done on work. I only sleep about 6.5 hours these days, which is pretty bad. But the rest I'd try and be on the server, you know, apart from eating, because I'm entitled to that. But I'd try and be on the server, I'd try and do the plot reviews, but even with that number, I was still getting, you know, people saying, why haven't you reviewed my plot yet? And then I was trying to also record, which pays for the server. And I think a lot of people don't realise that it does pay for the server. You know, that was what was happening. I was having to basically ignore the plot reviews, ignore people on the server to make money to pay for the server. So I got negative comments about that as well. So no matter what I did, I really couldn't win. And it's very difficult. It's very hard to explain exactly how you kind of feel when you actually get that. You know, no matter what you do, people are going to be pretty much pissed off all the time. You know, you can either spend lots of time with one person, for example, on the server, and then you'll get a load that, if you can only spend, for example, 10 minutes with them, I don't know what this is wrong. If you can only spend 10 minutes with them, they'll get annoyed because you've only spent 10 minutes with them, haven't spent as long as maybe you did with other people. So that also makes it very, very difficult. You have to try and be as fair as possible while trying to make money on YouTube, while trying to have a full-time job to actually pay just the normal bills, you know, living, rent, all this kind of stuff. Trying to actually pay for that. Trying to then make sure that your YouTube's earning enough, even with the actual advertising prices have basically dropped due to the amount of people that are on YouTube these days. Trying to actually pay for all of that, and also getting these negative comments, and it's very, very demoralizing. It's very difficult. Now, I'm actually a pretty tough person. I'm used to a lot of crap. That's just, you know, who I am. But it does get very tiresome that, you know, no matter how hard you try, it doesn't matter. So that's the kind of main reason that I guess I'm discontinuing the server. I think if I ever do a server in the future, and I'll probably you know, have another server at some point, just not for a while, not until I'm got, you know, a lot more financially secure, especially on YouTube. Because I would still want to have a free server. I think it's a nice thing to actually give, you know, as a YouTube, to give a place where people can just come on and enjoy themselves, you know, without having to worry about even getting asked for money. And that's one thing I think I did really well on the server. I never even asked for money, you know. I joked about it a couple of times, but I never actually asked anyone at all for money for anything. You know, it was done all on merit, on being like a good person, or being a good builder, or just in general being quite good. You know, I'd promote people for just being a good person and having a good spirit and things like that. and that's a much better way to actually do gaming, I find. So if I ever do another server, it will be based on that. There will be no financial cost, but I will need to actually basically support everything. I'd like to be earning enough on YouTube to not only pay for a good server with lots of RAM, so there's no lag, you know, that you can have lots of players, but also to actually pay staff, basically. To actually pay people to help me out on the server and to be someone to actually talk to. Now, I did have, of course, people helping me out on the server. People such as Zarius, people such as Quitster, STG Sharpened Knives, you know, Future Epicness. All of these people, you know, Modern Vintage, all these people were helping me get through the plot reviews. But the problem is, with it being, I guess, my server, is people want a review from me. So when, for example, they, you know, I'd actually get, again, more angry emails saying, you know, my plot's been reviewed, but I've still not made builder. Why? And it'd be not like just a normal why. It'd be a why the F not, for example. It'd be one of those. It wouldn't be a polite email. And, of course, I wouldn't have anything to do with it. You know, I didn't do that review, or, you know, maybe I hadn't even seen that. So I hadn't even seen the plot. So even when people were helping me, I was still getting all of these negative, kind of comments coming to me. And it's very, very difficult to deal with that as well, when you've got people that are helping you, but no matter what, you can't really be helped, you know. So I think if I do a server in the future, probably around the 100k, I could then at least pay people, and I could make it very clear that everything's, you know, is going to be dealt with, or you'll definitely get comments, and it's not going to be lag, and all this kind of stuff, to cut down on that negativity, because I do listen to you guys, and I think if I didn't listen to you guys, the server would probably be up still, because I would just say, well, screw it. But then again, if I didn't listen to you guys, I probably wouldn't care enough to give you guys a free server. So there's that as well. It's a very difficult thing. It's very difficult, and it's even difficult for me to make this video to tell you guys that I'm having to take it down. You know, it's one of these things, really difficult. But I think I owe it to you guys, and you know, you've been really good. All of the people that have joined me on the server, I just want to say thank you to you guys for actually coming onto the server, for having a good time. It has been really fun, and that view looks really cool from down there. Anyway, it has been amazingly fun, and I have enjoyed myself when I've just been messing around or building with you guys, you know, going on to Mumble and just chatting, and, you know, all of that stuff was absolutely great. But I can't deal with the kind of negative constantly, you know, negative comments just being aimed at me, even if it had nothing to do with me. Even if I'm providing this free server, not asking for money, you know, spending quite a bit of my time and trying to, you know, give people pointers, give people good advice, making videos on their plots to you know, give them some recognition, to give them a moment of fame. I'm not that big as a YouTuber, but I think it's still nice to know that somebody thinks that you've done something good enough to actually show it to people, and that's always a really nice thing, and I think I did that quite well. I really enjoyed doing it. I really enjoyed doing those, you know, plot reviews and seeing these crazy things that you guys come up with. Some of them really just absolutely insane. I think Unitim is one of these people that was just absolutely insane on some of his plots. Some of them were just really, really good, normal ones, and some he just went completely off. But, you know, I've made a lot of friends on the server, and I really have to just thank you guys for, you know, being there, enjoying yourself, and not caring too much about everything, just looking for a good time. And I really hope that those people that have met each other on the server, and during the time on the server, do continue to just chat together, to, you know, possibly even make their own servers and just socialize, or just hang out every so often and do these things. But those are my actual reasons. So now I'm just going to get on to, you know, what's going to become of the files, for example. So I've taken all of the files off the server completely, so they're all now on my hard drive. I've kept them all. I have had people ask me for downloads of plots. It's pretty much impossible, unfortunately. I was having a look at the actual world on, well, just Plot World, for example, which did become corrupt in the end, so bits of it are literally gone, like chunk errors and stuff, due to item frames. So yeah, great. But I have had a look, and I've had, since the start of the server, I've had about, I think it's over 2,000 people. So I've had over 2,000 people on there, and just as a normal player, you could come on and claim 20 plots. So I've had a couple of people just private message me and say, do you mind giving me my plots? My YouTube name, well, my in-game name was blah blah blah. Problem is, to actually search through all those will take me hours. There's well over, I think it's about, it's nearing the 1,800 plot mark, which is insane. And this is even after, you know, clearing up plots of people that had only been once and started just something. There's loads. There's just too many. So I'm unfortunately not going to be able to give you guys an actual, you know, your actual plots. And I don't think it'd be fair as well just to give out the entire plot world, because I'd have to basically get permission from everybody that's ever been on the server to then put that up for download, and I think a lot of people's builds would get stolen that way. So I want to try and protect you guys as well from that happening. So sorry, but that's basically how it is. I think what I'd do is, if I do get another server sometime in the future, I'll put that up there as like a historical thing, and I might even do it as the users that actually do own plots already can build on them. You know, do something like that. So it might be in like a year's time, it might be in 2 years' time, I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get to a point where I have the finance to give you guys a really strong server. That's what I want to do. I want to give you guys a really strong server, which doesn't have lag, which doesn't disconnect, which doesn't crash. That's what I want to kind of do. So it might be in a while, or I might just put it up as a historical thing on that server. I don't know. But I will keep a hold of those files. I'm still going to do a couple of the plot reviews that I've got on there. So I'm going to fly around. If I see something interesting, I will still give you guys a shout out for those. Obviously, you won't be able to actually view it because the server's gone. But I will try and at least give you a shout out for your efforts. The time that you've actually spent on these things definitely deserves recognition. Because some of the builds that are on that server, or were on that server, were just incredible. Were better than I can do. And, you know, just were really nice. Really nice. A lot of the actual efforts which were done, and plots which were done with other people as well. Really good. And I think that needs to be recognised and deserves recognition. And it's just awesome overall. It's just awesome. So anyway, I hope you guys understand my decision. I really do. If you don't, feel free to comment about it. You know, feel free to comment. I'm going to try and answer as many comments as I can on this video. And hopefully you guys understand. But if you don't, I'll try and explain it in another way to you on a more personal level through the comment system. And doing it through the comment system means that other people can see that, and they can also comment in, or they can, you know, I guess understand if they have a similar question. It just makes it easier, especially with nearing 30,000 subscribers. I get a lot of comments, you know, so it's very difficult for me on that level as well. But yeah, hopefully you guys understand. Hopefully you've enjoyed this fly around of this new ship. There won't be a tutorial for this ship, and I'm probably going to be building this one for, well, it's been about 4 months so far. It was planning on being my 30,000 subscriber special. Well, actually, originally it was my 20,000, and then it went to 30,000, and it's probably going to go to like 1 million subscriber special because it's taking so long. But it's like my pride and joy. It's a really cool one. Catamaran thing. Yeah, it's really cool. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks to everybody that came on the server. Thanks to everybody that enjoyed themselves. I hope you guys did have fun while it was up, but hopefully you understand my decisions. Anyway, I think that's enough rambling on. I think I rambled definitely for far too long. But yeah, I think what we're going to do with the plot stuff, I'll probably move to Revand. I'll probably live stream that. I want to get my live stream back up as well. So I might do that, for example, on Revand instead for the medieval stuff. Modern stuff, I have no idea. So if you guys know a modern plot world server that anyone can join, feel free to private message me about it. I think in the comment section it will get automatically blocked. So do send that via private message, and I'll kind of have a look at it and make sure that it's safe, and then I might tweet out about it or live stream about it, something like that, to try and get some recognition on that server and see how things are. But thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, I'll see you guys on the next video.